noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all well. Thanks for making us part of your day. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Well, out of gas and 150 miles heavier, but all for a very, very good cause. Because we are at one of our favorite places when it comes to the holiday seasons. We are not only keeping hearts and souls warm, we're now going to keep your epidermis warm.
Yes, and we're going to keep your marriage warm.
Yeah.
Because you come in here to Minky Couture, and there's 6 locations up and down the Wasatch Front, but you come here to the one in Layton, and we are going to get you squared away. Because you're going to walk in here, you're going to pick out a blanket, you're going to save a ton of money, at bare minimum 50% off. But listen, a little bit later on, we might up that up a little bit.
That very well could happen.
Yeah.
We're waiting for Sandy to get in, and we'll have a chance to catch up with her. And you've heard Scotty and I talking about Minky for years. This is one of our favorite partnerships, Scotty, and one of our longest running with the Hans and Scotty show.
I mean, I remember when we were at that little tiny place. I mean, we've seen this place grow because we were in this little tiny closet of a location, and Hans and I, who are much larger at the time, were like shoulder to shoulder in this little back closet. And
it got warm.
Oh, it got warm. And it got sweaty. But and this old lady came in. She's like, "Why are you guys here? They don't need your advertising." Well,
they'll sell blankets regardless.
They'll sell blankets without your ugly rear ends here.
She's right. They would.
They would, but we brought the dudes in, and now look where we're at, in a massive facility.
The Taj Mahal of blanketing.
Yes.
And it is warm. It is cozy. You've got great attendance. They've got the whole floor is packed with attendance. So you can come in and you can be all alone and quiet, or you could get the help of one of the consultants, but you're going to find any color. You're going to find the pattern, the softness, the size, and that blanket that's wrapped in this really nice cellophane with this beautiful packaging is going to sit under that Christmas tree and make somebody the happiest individual that they've ever been for Christmas.
Yes.
Because there's nothing like unwrapping a Minky and shoving your face down into it, sitting down with a movie, tucking it up against your neck, having your cat or dog snuggle up next to you. And it's just you, your cat, and a great movie. And your Minky.
Yeah, you lost me with cat. Everything else. You don't. I guess you were a cat guy. We can't talk about that.
I love cats. Love cats.
But you're deathly allergic.
Terribly allergic, but I love them. They're hilarious. But I am more of a dog guy than a cat guy. So dog, cat, whatever it is. Your favorite pet, your Minky, your favorite drink, your movie, and nothing else. Nobody. Nothing. Just that.
Have I told you the cat story with our Minky?
No.
Okay. I don't know if I should or not.
Did a cat get into your Minky?
Yeah, a cat did. And I was not overly thrilled about it.
Wait, was there a cat in your house?
Yeah.
How did a cat get in your house? Was it the one that was hanging around batting?
No, it wasn't.
You had one that was ringing your doorbell.
Yeah, that was Bruno, the neighborhood cat. I don't let Bruno in.
Scotty has video of a cat ringing the doorbell.
The old doorbell, the Vivint doorbell. It knows how to ring it because we had, and I'll admit I'm guilty of it too, because you see this cold cat who just roams the neighborhood, and every now and then you see it, so you're like, all right, I'm going to dish it a little tuna or something like that. Well, then you make that mistake once, and that cat's there all the time.
All the time. Cats they're the feed them once, they'll come back.
Yeah, and so that cat now likes to live at our place until it finds another neighbor who will feed it, and then it'll go over there. No, we had a family member who was visiting and owns a cat.
Oh, okay.
And so we had that cat in our house for 3 days, and that cat attached itself to a Minky and was all about that Minky. And
bless its heart.
Well, and all the hair that it left behind.
Well, they do leave hair.
Yeah. So that thing has been washed and washed and washed. And that's the other thing about gray Minkies. You can wash the heck out of them, and they'll still hold up.
Oh, that's the other great thing about Minkies is the fuzz doesn't come off.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You could wrap up in a white blanket in dark black clothes, and these Minkies hold together. Anyways, we'll talk more about it. But, Scotty, this Diego Paiva.
Oh, boy. There's a big story here.
This could have insane ramifications and impact on the world of college football. Like, major.
College basketball, college football, everywhere.
Everything.
Like, there's coaches up there. I talked to a coach this morning about it, and he said, and I think it's a little harder in basketball because you have so few scholarships. Well, this guy had gone out there and anticipating he had 2 or 3 junior college guys on his roster that were up on their eligibility. And so he's already signed players to take their spots next year. Well, now, all of a sudden, these players, if they want to, can come back. Well, he wants them to come back, but also he's got players signed. And so he's like, oh, no, like I got these incoming freshmen who I really need to be part of my program, but I can be really good if I can get these guys to come back next year. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Let's kick it off right there, and I'll tell you what's probably going to happen and what people are going to have to do.
Starting the lineup right now, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Hans and Scotty G.
Let's go.
The lineup is set, and it's time to kick off the show with the biggest topic of the day. This is the starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Well, Scotty, this is going to be really interesting. The way that this thing rolls out is going to be really interesting. For those of you that didn't hear, yesterday the news came down that Diego Pavia, who is the quarterback at Vanderbilt, who also played at the JUCO ranks, sued the NCAA for his 2 years of eligibility that he spent at the JUCO ranks, basically expressing that was my opportunity to make money, and now I'm in a money-making opportunity. You can't block that right for me to make money. Well, a judge ruled in favor of Pavia, granting him the additional eligibility, at least for now. And now we wait. And we see how big this gets. And we see what the NCAA has to do with their ruling and the overall effect and the way this shakes out. Now, I sit in a really interesting position here. As a father of a daughter that is wrapping up her second year of eligibility at the JUCO ranks.
At the junior college level.
Who just got an offer to go play at a university in Oklahoma and also another offer to go play at a university in Kansas. We were thinking she's going to go to Oklahoma or Kansas and go play for 2 years, and now we're looking at her like, you know.
She can be a freshman.
If they house you for 4 years and you're going in with your associates and they house you for 4 years.
That's MBA.
That we're talking about possibly getting your master's and really laying the groundwork for a career, if that's what you want. Now, you know my Mackie J. She's my pride and joy, and her ultimate goal in life is to be a mom. She's always wanted to be a mom, but she's a phenomenal athlete. Her body is an incredible machine. She's extremely durable, and you've seen over the 2 years, she's surpassed everybody's expectations of what she could do in the game because she tapped out at 5'10". 5'10".
I would have put her at 6 foot easy.
Oh, easy. But this changes things for her. It also changes things for my son, Rock.
Yeah.
Because he's an incoming freshman. Now, I think Rock will be okay because you don't make 6'7", 320-pound high school kids. They don't come around very often. And he stayed committed to Utah State, and Bronco Mendenhall's come in and been very committed. By the way, they've been so good with him.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Oh, man, they've been so good with him. Like, this incoming staff has been in constant contact. I know there's been offensive line coaching changes, but I do want to point that out because I just feel like Rock's been really blessed with a great opportunity, and they've just been in contact, and it's been really nice. Just hey, don't forget, you're our boy. Hey, we love you, kind of thing. So,
that's awesome.
Very cool. But there's a lot of kids that are possibly facing the music of having to change and shift directions and go to a JUCO. The JUCO is going to be the pit stop for college football.
And nobody is having a better day right now than JUCO head coaches. Football, basketball, volleyball, because they are going to see a wealth of talent coming their way. Because you've got kids now who, you know, especially with the 105 scholarship limit, so these universities are like, hey, sorry, we don't have a spot for you. Go to Fresno State or go to San Diego State or go to Utah State and go play there. And I know this is, you know, a little morally flexible, but let's be honest, it's college football, so everybody's a little morally flexible. And they're like, hang out there for a year or two, let them develop you, and then we'll have the money and the scholarship available to bring you here. Those conversations are happening. Well, now these universities are like, wait, no. You go there and your clock starts ticking. We want you to go to Snow. We want you to go to Hutchinson Community College. We want you to go to all these other, junior colleges. Go there and develop, and then we'll bring you up here, and then we'll have 4 years with you instead of just 2 or 3. And so all of a sudden, these JUCO coaches, I talked to one this morning, and Dave Rice, who, by the way, is the head coach at Salt Lake Community College, former Utah State BYU assistant, was a head coach at UNLV, was part of those UNLV teams that won national championships back in the day. He's going to join us at 2:30. But, I talked to a couple JUCO coaches this morning, and they're like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Like, yes.
Are they?
Yes.
Of course. They could have real talent.
They could have incredible talent coming their way.
Snow College could become the plant team for in-state universities. And this might lend to other JUCOs opening up sporting programs because you're not burning years of eligibility, and you can bring true high school talent in, and you could put on a real show. And I could see a full future of that. And then I could see coaching staffs breaking off, going into the JUCO ranks, be paid pretty well just to develop, on-court or on-field talent that is in line with the production of whatever university it's attached to.
Do we get to a point where these schools have their own junior college program? Like if I'm BYU, and I know they won't do this, but if I'm BYU, I'm like, I need to bring Ricks back, or, in terms of somewhere where I can send kids where it's a AAA affiliate.
Or you lock in with Snow.
Yeah, or lock in with Snow.
Yeah, and you
something like that, where you actually hire the coach that's there. He's part of your coaching staff. This is like the Stars and the Jazz, or the AHL to the NHL.
It's crazy.
You have your own team, and when you recruit a player, you're like, hey, guess what? We're going to send you to Ephraim for a year, maybe 2. And then you'll be ready to come up here. But he's one of our coaches. They run our system. You'll know our terminology. You'll know everything that goes along with it.
It's a wild thought. It's a wild thought, and the future of it might be okay. Although high school kids are going to have to make the JUCO stop, and then they have to get through the JUCO ranks to become eligible for their 4 years of paid eligibility. Because we are going to get to a point where the universities are in revenue distribution. We see the effects of the NCAA versus the House, and I still think you're going to have – what it does is it allows the cheaters to go back to cheating, but pay a university stipend.
Yeah.
That's what this thing is ultimately going to do. Alabama is going to be able to capitalize on this because the universities that are okay with cheating can go back to cheating. And the universities that try to run it square are going to go back to square, and they're going to be in the deficit again. It's going to happen eventually. But in the meantime, these kids, in order to come out of high school to get themselves to an Ohio State, they're going to have a JUCO stop, and they're going to develop for 2 years so that they can have their 4 years of eligibility be in their 20s when they've hit muscular maturity. Now, you could still go for 2 years and then head out to the NFL draft if, because you got to watch your age.
Yeah.
This is essentially like every kid being a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, except for serving a mission. They're serving at a JUCO where they get ultimate nutrition, ultimate fitness, ultimate development. And then you're into the next ranks. But this is the problem, Scotty. In the interim, the immediacy of this is going to be a complete poop show.
Oh, yeah.
A complete poop show. I'll give you an example. Guys like Darius Lassiter, Jake Retzlaff, Caleb Etienne, Luke Tuamatai, John Tamapinu, Hinkley Rapati. There's a grip of guys, but let's just stay with Jake Retzlaff. Jake could have a couple more years of eligibility.
Yep.
He could actually play 3 more years for BYU.
Yep.
Because he's got next year would be his actual senior year of eligibility, and then you give him his 2 years of JUCO eligibility back. He would have 3 years to play as the starting quarterback for BYU.
Yep.
So what does that do? Well, it creates a massive logjam because of the point you brought up to start this segment. Coaches are throwing their arms up like, what do we do? Do we tell them move on? Or do we keep the guys that we've worked with for a year until those other guys go find another spot? I can tell you what I got to do because I need to win.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you what I would do. I'm calling up high school kids and I'm saying, sorry. You're going to have to go find another spot. Now, I hate to say that because I've got a high school kid that's in that position. I don't know what Utah State's JUCO offensive line situation looks like, but let's just say there were 3 guys that ran out of eligibility this year because they'd spent 2 years at the JUCO ranks and just finished their second year with Utah State, and they're out of eligibility. Well, if I'm Bronco Mendenhall, I'm calling and I'm saying, hey, and I think George Miley's back.
Yeah.
But and I don't know who or what. Is there any O-lineman at the high school or at the?
I don't think so.
Went through JUCO.
Not that I can remember.
Well, I'm calling up. I just use George because it's a name I know. I'm calling up George Miley and I'm saying, hey, George, you know those 2 years at Riverside? Yeah, man. Those don't count against eligibility. All we got to do is issue a suit to the NCAA. You're going to get those 2 years of eligibility back. Would you be willing to come back? Well, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about, we can find 50, 75,000. We can find whatever, 120,000. We'll get you back, and we'll get you 2 years and see if we can get you another couple years of maturity and get you draft eligible. How does that sound? That's what I would do. And that is just a small example on a very broad 133 FBS schools scale.
Yeah. I mean, Rasul Faison, who was just a tremendous running back for Utah State this year, he played junior college ball, and all of a sudden he sends out a tweet this morning. Well, he doesn't send out a tweet, but somebody, probably one of his agents or whoever, sends out a tweet that says that he's now entering the transfer portal. He thought his eligibility was done, but now he can command. I mean, if some of these running backs out there are getting 200,000-300,000, here's a 1,000-yard rusher that's like, he's just got a new lease on life. He probably wasn't going to be an NFL draft pick. If he was, maybe a 7th, 6th round pick. But now he's like, wait a minute. I can now go to an SEC school. I can make $700,000, $600,000, $800,000 next year and continue to increase my stock for the NFL draft. I mean, all of a sudden you got guys that were like in the middle of working on their 40 time and working on their bench press and all that stuff, getting ready for the combine, and then realizing, wait a minute, holy smokes, I can go back to college and I can make a whole lot more money than I would my first year or two in the NFL.
Yeah, because let's not forget, I gave the numbers yesterday. College football players that find themselves on an active roster in the NFL, it's less than 1%. Of the total number of college football players to NFL active roster. It's less than 1%. So if you think, well, I'm going to go be drafted, well, then you're probably getting a pretty good draft grade and there's a good chance and you are one of the very elite few. The majority of, like Jake Retzlaff, I don't see Jake Retzlaff as a type of quarterback that'll land a camp. He's not a draftable quarterback, but he is the prototypical, excellent NCAA quarterback that can do all kinds of great things, but then has, certain limitations. Now, I doubt him, and now watch Jake go prove me wrong and find his way into the 3rd round of the NFL draft, and at that point, I would just say again.
And then call you and remind you about it.
Yeah, I'd just say again, Jake, you're amazing.
Yeah.
You continue to break all the doubters, and that's amazing. But I just don't see him as an NFL quarterback.
No.
Let's say he does land a camp. I still don't see him as a 53 or an NFL quarterback.
No.
So if I'm Jake, this is some of the best news that I've ever heard in my life, because you just gave me 2 more years of money making, 2 more years that I can continue my education, 2 more years. And this is just one example. And then if I'm Aaron Roderick, I'm going out of my mind because I thought I was going to have quarterback problems in a year from now. I thought I was going to have a potential massive changeover in a year from now. And now if I'm Aaron Roderick, I'm like, I could have my quarterback for the next 3 years. So Aaron Roderick's in a good situation. And every coach that has a good relationship with a player that played 2 years at the JUCO ranks, that thought that their eligibility was up. They just got some big breaking news. But I am just telling you, the ripple effect from this is going to be horrific.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going to be horrific. It is going to absolutely shake the ground and foundation of these college football rosters.
And back to what you mentioned earlier, and it's been the case for the last couple of years, who is going to take the brunt of this are the high school kids.
It's the high school kids.
Yep.
And they've already taken a major kick.
Yep.
They've already taken multiple major kicks. When COVID gave everybody that extra year of eligibility, we're still rolling that out.
Yeah, I know. And
we're playing that out still.
I got to imagine a coach out there is like, finally, we're coming to the end of this COVID juggling rosters, and now you throw this hand grenade into the mix. You're like,
that's what I'm telling you.
What is this?
These programs have been in deep water treading for the last 2 years, and what we just did was handed them a 45-pound boulder now to tread with.
Yeah.
It's going to sink them.
Oh, it is.
And it's going to break a lot of high school kids, but it's going to make a lot of JUCO kids' days. It's just another compliment to the entire mess that is college football right now.
All right, Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Fran Fraschilla, longtime coach and basketball commentator.
The thing about BYU, the history of the school, the program, they're not going to knowingly break any rules. The most disappointed people in this whole new NIL world are the cheaters, people that used to cheat. Now you can do NIL legally, and BYU obviously has a very healthy NIL program. So what AJ and some of these other young talents are becoming, they're the front porch of BYU, the university itself, and in a sense, the front porch of the church. The Cougs have always had great basketball tradition. They have a terrific young coaching staff. NIL's a factor now. Great fan support. So I think AJ picking BYU, certainly great for the school. It's great for the Big 12. And having seen AJ play this past summer, he's an enormous talent. So I think it's phenomenal.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all having a great day today.
So the only way that this thing gets stomped out is if there is a quick NCAA unification where they lawyer up and they bring heavy lawmakers and they get this thing crushed out. We just had a parent of a kid that's a soccer player at the JUCO ranks. He stopped by to ask us, does this apply to him? Yeah, it would apply to every sport.
Yep.
Essentially what happened here, Paivea's ruling said you have those 2 years of eligibility still in balance for the NCAA ranks and a money-making opportunity. That's what the ruling is.
Correct.
So until the NCAA lawyers up, goes bonkers, and gets this thing snuffed out, they've got another big problem on their hands.
They do. And in talking to a coach earlier today, he said, look, we're going to try, we're assuming this is the law of the land right now until we hear otherwise, which it is. And then, but we need to be ready to pivot because at any given moment, this sucker is going to get appealed, and you're going to get a lot of billable hours in place, and you might see a higher court come in and overturn it. But until then, this is what we're dealing with, so we're going to assume it's standard operating procedure until we hear otherwise. But that could be at any given moment. Again, some judge could be like, hey, no. I'm going to put in an injunction in place, and the old rules are going to apply while I take 6 months to rule on this one. So you think you know, but you don't know, and ultimately it's the kids and these coaches that are going to suffer the most while the lawyers try to figure it all out.
The parent also asked, well, what do we do? Are we going to have to get attorneys? Does this end up in court fees? Well, in my opinion, if, let's just say for conversation's sake, Wisconsin calls your kid and wants him to come play basketball or soccer or football, you say to the whoever calls, you say, where are we at with his eligibility? I mean, that's where the conversation could absolutely start. Now, each school might be more or less willing to deal with that eligibility. But every one of them, by today at noon, should know where they stand with that, because they're all scrambling to figure out what this Pivea ruling means to them, because it could be extremely impactful. Oh, and they're going to have every JUCO player, their parents, their aunt and uncle, their agent, everybody else who's involved with this, calling them, asking them questions. So they better have the answers. And if that answer is, oh, well, we just submit a petition to the NCAA for the eligibility, or their answer is, no, we just play your kid until it gets shut down. Because right now, the basic verbiage of it is the NCAA cannot enforce its eligibility ruling on Pivea for that year of eligibility remaining. That's it.
That's it.
And so there is I think there's a lot of disinformation. I think there's probably a ton of confusion. But all I know is your eligibility offices at these universities better be up to date.
Oh, yeah.
With the ever-changing landscape, because you don't want to get beat to that eligibility. You just brought up Faison.
Yeah.
Okay, Faison is the perfect example. The person that has the quickest information that can call Faison and say, hey, we've already submitted for the petition. We've got your 2 years of eligibility. Not only that, we've got 250,000 years over the next 2 seasons, and we're ready for you.
Yeah.
The first person that can give him the information and let him know, hey, you're going to get paid to play college football for the next couple of years. Maybe they've got the best shot. So that's why these directors and these information platforms, they have to have it all gathered and ready to go.
And I got to imagine, this was something that I'd heard this guy's name a while ago and knew about the suit, but I didn't know how close it was to getting a ruling. I wasn't really up to speed until the ruling came out yesterday afternoon. But I got to imagine, if you're a director of football operations or basketball operations, or you're a guy that's in charge of any kind of scholarship allotment or anything like that, this had better been on your radar.
Yeah.
And this had better been
you've already
ready
got
to
this.
go.
Yeah.
And even reaching out to the guys on your team saying, hey, look, I know we celebrated you on senior day, but just know if this ruling goes our way, we will honor your scholarship. We will give you 1 or 2 more years, whatever you have left, and here's the money that we will have, and we'll be ready to go. Or if you see somebody that was a JC that you think would be a good fit for your team, as you mentioned, you've already laid the groundwork with them and said, hey, guess what? Your eligibility's over, so I can talk to you. And I just want you to know, if this thing flips, you hop in that portal, and we'll have everything laid out for you.
Yeah.
And this is the money. These are the terms. This is what you're going to get. This is the system. This is our role that we see you on the team. And off you go. I mean, I told the story once about a kid that grew up, in my neighborhood up in Idaho, and he had committed to a school and really didn't like where he was at. And there were a couple schools that he wanted to go to in the transfer portal. He went into the portal, and the University of Utah was not on his radar. But it was the Utes who offered him first, because they had a guy that was manning that transfer portal, and as soon as he became available, he had that guy on the line.
Yeah.
Utah was ahead
Smart.
of any of the other schools because they knew how to play the game. And so if you're a university right now and you saw this coming down the pipeline, you better have been out in front of it with your own players and the players you want.
Otherwise, you're going to be behind.
Or you're going to be behind.
You're going to lose some talent, and that could be a real problem. And again, this plays with the NCAA basketball ranks, and until the NCAA shuts this thing down, it is going to be a free-for-all. And we are going to see a lot of guys find a couple of years of eligibility that you didn't expect to have, and that is going to flood the market. It's going to flood talent. It's going to flood the market. It's going to create competition, which might be good for football playing, but it's terrible for incoming high school players. Man, this is bad news for incoming high school players.
Yeah.
Because now, if I am a high school kid, just hear me out on this. If I'm a high school kid, I might want to go JUCO rank first, because I want to max out my money-making ability for the 4 years that I can make money at the NCAA ranks. So I'm going to go to JUCO. I'm going to get good. I'm going to make a name for myself, and I'm going to be recruited out of the JUCO ranks, because that will still be a massive weeding out process.
Oh, yeah.
We'll still only see about 7% of eligible high school football players make their way into those JUCO ranks. It's still going to be a very small percentage. But it's an opportunity for me to go weed that out. And then I'll make my name. I'll heal up the injuries. I'll get stronger upper body or stronger lower body. I'll work on lateral speed. I'll get really good nutrition. I want to find a JUCO program that'll give me good nutrition and give me really good development.
Yeah.
Help me with development.
All right, so let's use you for an example, all right? So let's say that you're Hans Olsen, the number one recruit coming out of the state of Idaho, and Lavelle Edwards and Ken Schmidt and all these guys show up, and they're like, hey, you know what, Hans, we love you, and we think you're going to be a great player here at BYU. And I don't know if they told you this up front or if you found out afterwards, but let's just say they were up front and said, but we're going to redshirt you your first year. And you're going to be in our system. You're going to travel with us. You're going to experience the whole college experience. You'll be dressed on the sidelines, but just know you're going to be redshirted that first year. Do you say, okay, that's great, and I get the experience of being around the program and knowing what it's like to travel? Or do you say, you know what, Coach, how about I go JC and I play and develop there for a year, and then I'm ready to come in as a freshman and contribute next year? If you're a coach, which do you prefer? As a player, what do you prefer?
Okay, well, just to put it in those terms, as a player, what I would prefer is to go redshirt, start my eligibility, get development from the staff that I'll play for, because my goal is still the NFL.
Okay.
So I want to take the shortest path that I can go to get to the NFL.
Okay.
Because I hate schooling. I hate college. I don't want to have those responsibilities. I'm not in it for that.
Yeah.
I'm in it to play football and get paid to play football. I'll do the schooling thing later. The NFL paid for whatever remaining schooling that I needed. Or, you'll find ways to take care. When I've got $24 million from my playing career, I could go back and do school if I want.
Yeah.
But why do I even need a degree? So my first idea is, what's the quickest route for me to make money and get to the NFL? And it would still be going to BYU and redshirting if that was an option. The problem is that conversation now needs to be, oh, hey, we love your game and we're recruiting you and we can't wait for your future, but in the interim, we're going to have you on the field at Snow. I know that sounds really dirty. I know it sounds really bad. But we saw this on the horizon with all of the other things that have been handed down. We knew that this was coming. We knew that JUCO would be separated. We knew FCS would be separated. We knew Mount West Conference and the Power Five, or the Group of Five, would be separated. Yeah. And we saw the separation from the P4. So this is what I could see eventually happening. This 64-team format, or whatever it's going to eventually be, that houses their own football and has university names attached to it, I'll bet we're going to see a future 5-8 years where even FCS won't count against your eligibility.
Probably. Yeah.
So I could go enroll at Weber State or Southern Utah. And I know people are out there like, no, well, the NCAA, blah, 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 it's connection to this. Well, the ultimate goal for the Ohio States, Oklahomas, Notre Dames, and Floridas of the world, the ultimate goal is to unify, to separate, to have a self-governing body, to then hit all kinds of salary caps and structured payouts and structured contracts, and eliminate the worrying concern of Title IX and schooling and incoming freshmen, and just rule all that out. That's their ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. And when they do that, and they do separate,
and they will,
we could see Weber State just being the same. Like, come here, your eligibility clock doesn't start. We can put you in a developmental system. We'll compete and have fun. Your ultimate goal is there. But then this becomes another problem. So let's say I'm spending 3 years at Weber State, and then I finally get my shot at Ohio State. And then I spend 2 years there, 3 years there. Well, I'm putting miles on my body. I'm putting age on my body. And the more I do that, the further I get away from an NFL contract.
Yeah.
So to your question, I'm going to take the quickest route that I possibly can. If they tell me, hey, we think we can get you on, we can redshirt you. But if they tell me, but if you're not good enough, what we got to do is take a JUCO player. We're going to take your spot, and we'll have to relegate you to JUCO.
Yeah.
I mean, Scotty, this is a complete insanity.
Well, let's take it one step further than that. Who's the next kid who, let's say Cam Rising, decides to sue the NCAA and say, you know what? My best ability to make money is at the collegiate level, not the NFL level. So I want to stay in college. I don't want there to be certain things as eligibility at all. Kids can go to college until they're 65 years old. So why can't I just stay in college and keep enrolling in classes? And there's no such thing as eligibility, period.
Yeah, does this start to really tamper with the eligibility process that has been put in place as long as I can remember?
Who's going to, I mean, that's going to be the next lawsuit. Is like, well, who determined that I only have 4 or 5 years? The NCAA. Well, I don't like that rule. Guess what? My buddy Van Wilder here has been in school for 20 years. So, you know what? I want to do that, and I want to keep playing football. They'll still take my tuition money and have me go to classes. Why can't I go play football? Because I can make money here, but I can't make money at the NFL because the NFL doesn't want me. I'm not good enough.
Well, I saw Brian Logan, fantastic corner for BYU. Great dude. Love Brian. I saw Brian post and say, whoa, I had 2 years at JUCO. Give me my eligibility
I'll
back.
go out and play. That dude looks like he could still play,
He
too.
could. He's still built like a brick house, and he's more intelligent and more poised and probably more passionate. Now, I know that he's probably distanced a little bit from his playing days, but there are guys out there 2 or 3 years removed that were fantastic linebackers that got cut from the NFL that lost 2 years at JUCO that are going to say, wait a second, do I get those 2 years back? Because I'll call Michigan. I'll be like, hey, you remember my 102 tackles my senior year? I'll come back. I'll give you 120. It's going to get out of hand.
Yeah. Hans and Scotty, 1251. You're listening to 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
This show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bang!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number one.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up here in just a bit, we'll talk to Steve Bartle, get his thoughts from a Utah perspective, what this might mean to Utah with the JC rule change that just hit as of last night that has turned the world of college athletics once again upside down.
I know we're out here at Mickey. We're going to talk to Sandy here in a second, but I did want to go a little bit further with this hockey club because last night was incredible. You talked about the late goals. Clayton Keller and Dylan Gunther both scored in the third period. You had Vejemelka had 24 saves through that game, so he was spectacular again, only allowing 2 to get past him. And then Logan Cooley dished out 2 assists, and he was spectacular. In fact, I believe Logan Cooley dished the assists on the 2-1 that ended up with the game winner for Sergeyev, right?
Yeah, yep.
So that I think that came from Logan Cooley. Just about 4 or 5 minutes into that overtime period. So an absolute blast of a game. A jam-packed house. We're going to be talking about that in the good here in a little bit. And a team that is really starting to feel it. That's a really good Canucks team. They were 16-8-6 coming into that game. 16-8-6 coming into that game. And they were doing a lot of things well. And remember, Jay Stevens told us yesterday that their tender got back about 4 games ago.
Yeah.
And was really starting to find his rhythm and is one of the better tenders in all of NHL, and still they found the back of the net in that overtime period. So loved what Utah Hockey Club did last night.
Vancouver was 11-0-3, undefeated when leading after the second period until the Utah Hockey Club saddled them with a loss last night.
Well, they bumped up against Gunther, Cooley, and the crew.
Yep. All right, Hans and Scotty right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.